Now it's going to get really interesting. So I've talked to you before about the golfing machine, a book written by Homer Kelly, which so many of modern day golf coaches have taken information from and used to a greater or lesser extent. But everything in there is absolutely essential information for any quality golf coach to understand the golf swing and therefore what they're going to communicate to you. And what we're interested in is what part of this that you can use to help yourself to play better golf. So Homer says that there are 3 imperatives and 3 essential. So an imperative by definition saying without it, it won't work. And when he's saying it won't work, what he means is that it won't work correctly. It's not going to be aligned with all of the forces that we talked about. He says his number 1 imperative, and without the number 1 imperative, which is the flat left wrist at impact, what he says is that anything else other than a left wrist will mean confusion to all other information that's talked about the golf swing. So what he's saying here is that obviously by naming it an imperative, then it has to be there, okay? And there are many reasons that it has to be there, but the most important one as far as he's concerned is that there's no point in learning anything else until you learn the importance of the flat left wrist. So that means we have to set that as a task in the first place. If we're then going to experiment with what a flat left wrist gives you and how that feels and how that affects things like club face, then we aren't going to be able to take into and affect changes by doing anything else if we don't understand that in the first place. The second absolute imperative is a lag pressure point. Now, what that basically is saying is that to do this effectively, we must create lag in the shaft until it's released at impact. So we must create the ability for this club to have lag in it. The third one is a straight plane line, which you could probably have 2 different kind of thoughts to it, but it's basically to make sure that the swing itself stays in a circle on an inclined plane. Let's try and give you just a tiny bit of definition to it. It's the relationship of the shaft to a straight plane line, and that straight plane line runs for the sake of keeping it simple from the ball to the target, and then extend it in both directions from there. So what we're saying is in a swing, the shaft at address will continue to point to that line as described throughout the backswing until it gets parallel to ground, therefore it can't point to that line, and then again the shaft will again point to that line to the top of the swing, point to it on the downswing, point to it on the further on the downswing into impact, continue to pointing to it afterwards until it resets and still pointing to it. So that is going to be the 3 things that you have to maximize or to begin to maximize your potential for power and direction. You can hit the ball without these 3 things, but you're not going to be in a position to maximize the full potential that is available to you. We're going to move on to the 3 essentials tomorrow if you want to do any further research on that, but for the moment, if you just go and explore flat left wrist, what that means, how that changes. So even if the left arm bends, we're going to get back and the left wrist is still flat. Most of you will find yourself in this position at impact or very soon after impact, and you can see straight away that's not going to hold on to lag, and it's also not going to control the club face. Flat left wrist. Put all your focus into that. Let's see where this takes us. I'll see you tomorrow. In the meantime, stay safe.